Hey, my name's Will. This is ValorCraft Workshop. Glad to have you here today if anyone's out there. This is my Monday morning live. It is not Monday morning yet again. Haven't quite made it to Monday morning yet, but that's all good. So if you tuned in last month being January, I've been exploring. I didn't set any 2026 goals yet. Spent the month of January really trying to figure out what deserves my attention and what doesn't, and exploring this idea of addition by subtraction, which is this concept I have of taking some things away actually yields greater returns, I guess would be a way to say it. Not splitting your attention so much. So it could be attention being split, and so removing some things to give better attention to things, or physical things too. It's like we keep accumulating, taking on more and more, and it just makes it harder to be productive and get things done or focus on the tools that you really need. I say tools because that's a real example. If you look behind me, you can see I've got every tool that I need, right? But I can't work on every tool at the same time. 3D printers, lasers, woodworking, traditional woodworking, CNC routing, all these things. It's like I'm one guy. I can only use one thing at a time. And perhaps by limiting some stuff, I can actually get a little bit more done. So addition by subtraction. My focus in February then is the subtraction side of that equation. And so this isn't minimalism. I didn't joke, I was actually serious about being a minimalist at one point in my life. I was going to get a, Airstream trailer. I talked to some friends of mine. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get this Airstream trailer. I'm going to live in the Airstream trailer. And this is when I was single. And they all just laughed because you see all the junk I have. I don't know how I'd get rid of that or fit things into an Airstream. So I'm not looking to be a minimalist. I'm a realist, and I know I can't be a minimalist. Never will be. And this isn't about productivity necessarily either. And it's not really about purging, although there's little bits of all these things in it. Just clearing some things out to give me a little bit more decision space, a little more freedom of physically, some freedom of movement around the shop, as there are things that are going out. But it's items that aren't serving me well anymore, or haven't been used in a long time, or eventually need to go anyway. I've talked a little bit about the reality of this shop is not forever, and I need to be thinking of what my off-ramp is from this space, and the inevitability that we all leave this greater space called Earth at some point as well. And I really don't want to leave a burden of all my treasures onto somebody else. So whatever I can trim down, the better. And it's a nice design challenge too, to determine what can I get rid of. Just because I can have it doesn't mean I have to have it. Just because I have space for it doesn't mean I have to keep it if it's not serving me well, and it ends up being something I pick up and move somewhere else so I can use the things that I want to use. So this is exploration. It's not so much instructive or prescriptive in nature. I'm just exploring the possibilities of examining this idea of addition by subtraction, and by getting rid of some things and increasing my focus, whether so it's product lines, it's stuff in the shop, it's just focus of what services I provide in my stores. It ties in with the just because I can do it doesn't mean I have to do it or should do it. So all these things together. But February, I decided to do addition by subtraction, you have to start with subtraction. So February's focus is subtraction. It's getting rid of some gear that are equipment that I've just not used, or equipment that survived the fire that just need a little bit of a cleanup, and then get out the door. Some Facebook Marketplace things I could get out of here. There's probably some scrap wood and some different things things I'm never going to use that can find its way to the dumpster. Luckily, I got a dumpster right outside my door, so that makes that easier too. I'm not trying to be emotional about any of these things, and it's just stuff. And so even some of the larger woodworking equipment that I'll get rid of because I'm not using, or downsizing, maybe I'm going to get rid of a large compound miter saw in exchange for a smaller one that's more portable or more conducive to what I need. If there ever becomes a time that I need it again, I can always go buy it and reshuffle from there. But right now, a lot of this is not serving me, and it's just collecting dust and cluttering my shop and cluttering my mind. Like I said, we default to add mode most of the time. I've shared the metaphor of carrying a rucksack and keep picking those rocks up and throwing more rocks in the rucksack. But rarely do we purge and pull some stuff out, lighten the load. And I can use that's my hypothetical or my metaphorical rucksack, but I could use my son's backpack, his school backpack. They don't have lockers anymore in high school, so they carry their stuff around with them all day. And most of their stuff's on a computer too. So I do not understand why his backpack's so heavy, but it is. So he should probably take a moment. Maybe you should watch this video. John, if you're watching, watch this video in its entirety and take a moment to unload that backpack. It'll serve you well. Again, subtraction's not loss. I'm not at the end of this. I'm not going to feel like, oh no, I got rid of that thing. It's actually going to be a lighter load. It's going to free up space. And by freeing up that space, I think it's going to, by creating space, it's going to allow for more creativity, I think, as well. So that rucksack metaphor, just to beat that dead horse one more time, where I'm talking about skills, I'm talking about roles, I'm talking about tools. So physical items, mental items, and just our identity. I picked up a lot of things along the way just due to my job at the time. I joined the Army in 1991 as a drummer, a percussionist, and did 10 years like that. And then as a commander, a conductor of bands. And all along all those steps and 32 years in the military, there were certain skills and certain traits that were inherent to the role that I filled. So those things got picked up. Now, at some point, those need to get taken out as well. So there are a number of aspects of what I did for a living before retirement that I don't need anymore. So those things need to get unloaded from the rucksack, from my mind. Some things will stay. Obviously, I've been a drummer for 4 decades, and it's like, I'm not going to just get rid of that. I could get rid of some equipment, probably some percussion equipment, and I've been doing that slowly along the way. But specific things to command of a military unit, I don't need anymore. If it's not taking up space, it's just stuff in my mind, great. But I don't need to worry about the same things I worried about when I was in. Or I'll get a note once in a while, people that are still in, complaining about something that's going on in the field. And I have another phrase that I use a lot called, not my monkeys, not my circus. And so I've done a pretty good job I've shared some advice with former colleagues after I got out, a little bit of mentoring. I still do a little bit of mentoring to some of the guys and gals that are still serving, but I don't let it take up space in my head anymore. So things happen while I was in, good and bad, and okay. But now it's someone else's thing to deal with, someone else's turn. So I can give them some advice, but I'm not going to take ownership of it anymore. And what else? I'm just trying to follow my script a little bit because I am short on time today, and I do want to stay on track and not wander too much. I already said all that. The anchoring idea of all this is just because I can doesn't mean I should. So some personal examples. Content. Earlier in the year, or maybe last year, I really laid out a content creation plan that was just beyond anything I could do. And the number of channels I had and different projects I like doing. And maybe I'll come back to some things. I did a kind of a satire newsletter called Peanut Butter and Jellyfish. Peanut Butter was a French bulldog newscaster, and his partner at the news desk was a jellyfish in a fishbowl. That's ridiculous. It was satirical news, but it was not necessary. It was fun, but it was causing more stress, more obligation to feel like I had to publish on certain days and get those things out. I was doing another little single pane comic strip called, not strip, it's just a comic because it was single pane, called Tourette's Parrots. And it was, what if Dr. Tourette had two parrots in cages. And so one would start to say something, the other one would cut them off with something inappropriate. I thought it was funny, but again, it took up time. I had 3 viewers, and in the end, maybe it's something I'll come back to as I get more ideas for these comics, or maybe not, but it wasn't serving me well. So I took it out of the rucksack, tossed it aside. And even within the ValorCraft Workshop universe, if you will, way too many segments going on, and it was way too much prescribed or prescriptive in nature, or creating for the sake of creating rather than what I'm trying to do now, which is more documenting my thoughts on the week ahead, capturing some show your work and thoughts at the end of the week as well. Just documenting what I'm doing in here and sharing that, hopefully building a discussion with others from that, pulling from the content from this live that I do on Mondays, which stems from the blog post or the newsletter that I send out on Friday, get the live on Monday, and then I can pull from this content. I can pull some shorts out of this, hopefully, and share those separately too. So now I'm taking one piece of content or creating one piece of content and then pulling others from that and continuing that conversation that way, rather than building all these little pieces and hoping it all combines into something worthwhile. And I don't think it was doing that. It served its purpose at the time, but not so much anymore. So in the shop itself, again, it's just because you can doesn't mean you should. Just because I have a tool that does a certain thing doesn't mean I have to utilize that tool. And I feel a lot of obligation to the tools in here. Because I have it, I feel like I have to use it. And maybe if it weren't here, then I wouldn't have it. I wouldn't feel obligated to use it because I don't have it in the first place. And it will help me trim down what I do. I know guys that like all they have is a CNC router and they do the most amazing work. And that's awesome. I wish I could focus on one thing. I like to do 1,000 things, but it's crippling sometimes in actually getting things done. I'm doing a better job of focusing on what it is I want to work on and making the other things not available, or maybe even selling them and getting rid of them so they're absolutely not available, not just covered up or tucked away for a minute. So allowing for more opportunity than obligation. That's another theme that's been going on that will continue through this year. Products, also same thing. I'm culling down the products, the ones that require too much hands-on from me, cutting down. I'm finishing one ammo can whiskey gift set tomorrow that includes a lathe turned whiskey bottle stopper. But that's the one thing that takes so much extra effort from the engraving. Everything else is engraved, so it's all over at the engravers. But that one part of that gift set requires me to go to the lathe and prep a blank to turn, and it doesn't take a long time to do, but it's a separate tool and it's splitting my attention in different places. After I sell out of the blanks I've got right now, I'm going to remove that from the offering on that product. Some of the ornaments that I've been making and selling that require a lot of time hand painting them, customizing them, I'm going to get rid of those too. I'm really trying to get more into the design side of ornaments and selling those designs rather than making the product myself. I think it's going to help with an off ramp from the shop one day, and it's going to give me back some time when I actually sell those, because it doesn't take me any time once I've created the file, and it's just passive income at that time, whether I sell one or whether I sell 1,000, whatever. That's going to be better. So I'm just looking that direction. Same thing with the ducks in the Duck Toy Company. I don't have to offer up every duck that I've got a design for. I'm picking and choosing a lot more carefully based off of what my customers have shared with me and what items they look at most. And so I've officially sold 200 ducks as of last week. And I also officially probably have 400 ducks waiting to be sold. Got to have them catch up with each other. I'm probably going to pull a few more down. I'd rather have them not in the shop, not selling, than in just sitting in a box here, than sitting up there and just not getting views. Or I'm going to go through and maybe rewrite some descriptions, do a few things, give them one more chance to sell, and otherwise retire some of these guys early. Product culling, low margin items and things that are big time sucks are going to disappear. It's part of the subtraction here in September, not September. Sounds like subtraction. So subtraction September would be a good one, but it's February. And so February's theme is subtraction. Constraints are subtraction in advance, if you will. Constraints reduce that decision fatigue. I've shared the stories before of Steve Jobs and his black mock turtlenecks and his blue jeans, or Obama and his blue and gray suits and limited colors of ties, all in an effort to increase decision space, allow for more decision space, and reduce the number of decisions you have to make in a day. So constraints can be really good for that. And one of those great constraints is, hey, I don't have a tool that does this, so I can't do that thing. So much easier to say I can't do it if you don't have the stuff to do it, even if you have the skills to do it. So fewer choices doesn't mean less freedom. Actually, I think it gives you a little bit more freedom, and it's a little bit more creative too. Because sometimes I like having the right tool for the job, but sometimes there's more than one tool to do a job, or you'll find a different way to do it if you built in some constraints ahead of time. Like, how can you, I found this playing drums. Actually, I'll use this analogy. You can be the guy, Terry Bozzio or someone who's got 20 drums and 50 cymbals in a setup. It's like, he's got one thing for every thing. And he may hit one thing once through the entire performance. Or you can use a kit that's like a bass drum, a snare drum, and a hi-hat and a cymbal. And it's, oh, what can you do on that? I've seen drummers with a very small drum set, or God, not even a drum set. I've seen people with a pair of brushes and a piece of paper and play the most awesome grooves with brushes and paper. I don't know. So putting those constraints in place up front really opens up creativity, I think, a lot. And so that'd be interesting to see how that plays out in the month of February. Limiting color choices on some of the prints that I do, fewer formats. I'm putting out content in fewer places, so that helps things a little bit too. So I'm just really focused on YouTube, and then I'll pull some stuff from this and probably send it to Instagram from that. But I'm not re-recording. I'm not recording in a different format. If this becomes a short, or if parts of this becomes a short, I'm just coming in vertical on it, and the framing may not be perfect, but the content will be. The content won't be perfect either, but it's going to free up a lot of time for me as well. That's my alarm to tell me I need to finish this thing up really quick. All right. And constraints also give me some guardrails to protect that creative energy as well. So it'll keep me on track a little bit better. And when you don't have every option in the world, it reduces decision fatigue, I believe. And I have to stay, there's 20 different ways to drive from Arizona to Detroit, let's say. But if I limit myself to interstate highways, then there may only be one or two routes, right? So sometimes that constraint can really help keep yourself focused and getting things done. So I'll throw something out to the audience here, the audience of, let me flip over to that screen real quick to see what the audience is. So nobody. That's all right. I'm not worried about that. But should you watch this at some point, should someone pop on and you want to add something to the comments when I do the abridged version and pop that out tonight, where could one small subtraction help you right now? And I may have asked this question already, but what's one thing you could remove? Let's say, let's lay it out that way. What's one tool you could remove from your shop, or one obligation that you have, or one product, if you're a maker that sells things too? What's one product you could pull out of your repertoire? Or let's just stick with that tool. A tool or an obligation or a product that you could pull out by subtracting that would help you. That was asked in such a poor manner. So let me put it this way again. Where could one small subtraction help you right now? Let's answer that question in the comments. A tool, a task, a commitment, or an idea. It doesn't even have to be permanent. You could just say, hey, I'm going to set this one aside for a week or a month and just see how the creativity increases or decreases, or just run a little experiment, remove one thing and see how that helps you or hinders you in your mission and what you do. All right, in closing, subtraction as alignment, that's what I'm looking at. trying to align with my original intention for this shop, or what ValorCraft Workshop is or could be. This isn't punishment. This isn't, hey, you've done a really bad job of getting rid of crap, but I've done a really bad job of getting rid of crap, so it's due anyway. Like a sculpture, you start with that block of marble and you're removing the parts that aren't part of the final sculpture, right? So it's that addition by subtraction. We reveal the final product or what's useful by getting rid of the stuff that's not serving us. So February is going to clear that field for me. March, I'm going to be away on a vacation for a couple weeks of that. So March and April I'll be looking at addition and really looking at what's left here in the shop and really focusing on that original intention of woodworking and using the material I have here. Again, there'll be still a little bit of subtraction because I'm going to use up the material I already have rather than adding more. So again, this is still the long arc is addition by subtraction, not addition by addition. So even once I get rid of crap in February, March and April, I'm sure I'm going to have to buy some new material, but for the most part, it's going to be using up material I already have. And so again, so that's addition for March and April as well. So February clears that field. March will test what remains and we'll see how we go with that. So this is ValorCraft Workshop. This is ValorCraft Workshop. And this is ValorCraft Workshop. Head, hands, and heart. That's the framework I work within. And I'll talk to you next week.